Hi, my name is Kayla Muskis. I'm a native Texan, born in Brownsville, raised in Los Fresnos. Spent a lot of time as a kid growing up in those small border towns. I'm now currently living in San Antonio, Texas. I moved here for better educational opportunities. And as a 25-year-old disabled college student, it has been a ride. But I am using the tuition waiver that I get from being a foster youth and aging out of foster care. I receive a waiver for the tuition to be paid for any public university or community college, and I'm double majoring in biology and psychology. I'm a sophomore who is finishing up my transfer plan at Palo Alto College, and this is actually my first semester at Texas A&M San Antonio, trying to finish up my marine biology transfer plan. And it's exciting to be in a place in my life where I've really overcome adversity in more ways than one, but now I get to be a role model and an example for my community of foster youth, and it's honestly an honor because I have disabilities that require a lot of attention and time. ADHD, dyslexia, PTSD, Hashimoto's, thyroiditis, anxiety. Many of those things impede my day-to-day functioning, and having to take medication and be on top of doctors and have a schedule for school is not easy for anyone to manage. So I take a lot of pride in what I've accomplished and how far I've come in my personal life and goals. But lately, I can't stop thinking about mental health in general. And I see this stigma around it. Even in summer activities of trying to be involved in the community, I was denied access due to having a service animal who's a pit bull. But either way, it's something we need to work on. I'm an adult who has every right to have a service animal due to my disabilities, and in a state like mine, I still have pushback. And that's not okay, but sometimes things like that need to happen in order for our environments to understand what's acceptable and what's not. Now, what things should never come to is a school shooting. And yesterday, the Uvalde community had to send their kids back to an educational institution that failed to protect them when they needed it most. So that's weighing a little heavy on my heart as we start this new semester of school and are reminded by this unfortunate event that happened. It's a nightmare to these people, and they're still having to live it. So the capacity of our consideration for children in general needs to start changing. This attitude we have towards mental illness and the approaches that we take right now are not giving us the outcomes that we're going to be satisfied with. And many rural areas like Uvalde and the Rio Grande Valley, these small towns, don't get a lot of resources. So it would be it would be good for us to reflect on this and improve upon how we go about these situations, because they're not going to stop, especially if we don't take any drastic measures. So far, I haven't seen any, and I'm not going to put my hope or faith in a government that I was raised by in the foster care system that did nothing but neglect me. So it's up to us as people to like vote them out and get people that we do trust with those decisions and approaches to get into office. But that's beside the point. And you know, what we can do individually is just change our attitudes towards mental health and the stigma around it. I know, as much in my culture, and I'm sure many others, that there's this shame and we feel like we're being judged because our kid needs a little bit more than we can provide or know how to provide. And being different can cause unwanted attention. So I totally acknowledge that, and I want people to understand that you shouldn't feel embarrassed and you shouldn't feel incompetent. There's nobody at fault, but it's the community's job to make parents and guardians aware of potential reasons and provide the public with a plethora of solutions that fit each individual child's needs. And this includes medical care when it comes to mental health. Our kids need to be here mentally in order to learn. So it's definitely a service that, you know, our older generations have little to no experience with, and even coming from like a foster care demographic and aspect of things, maybe they did have an encounter with this type of help and it wasn't, it further divided their family instead of actually helping. So with that experience, we have to make sure that we're taking that history into consideration and changing the relationship of authority. Why is authority so intimidating? It's because police, doctors, parents, school boards, teachers, you know, ad litems, my caseworkers, my foster parents, you know, however the dynamic plays out, you know, our schools are lacking the outreach. Our governments, our local communities are lacking the outreach to our public and helping them have the information that they would need to better help themselves and their families. So in my perspective, I see this as neglectful, because we know the families that are struggling the most, and we're not giving them the information at school or at home. And if we as a community became more involved, you know, taking accountability for our lack of involvement is something that we also need to acknowledge. And by doing that, it's a matter of changing that behavior and becoming more active in your child's life, in the community as a whole. And going forward, I would really like to see a coordinated effort in providing safer spaces in public schools, private schools, charter schools, homeschooling. And it can be in person, it can be virtual, but the bare minimum, we definitely need a feedback department on what's working and what's not working, and any ideas that people can bring to us to better improve this emergency hotline to become an actual sustainable, reliable option for people to take. And I hope that in doing that, we can change the relationship we have with authority and our community as a whole. I'm sorry for those children that didn't even get a chance. And I think about it very often. And it's definitely a force that's causing me to be more involved in my own community and make sure that I'm doing everything I can to take care of those out there who may not have the energy right now to ask for help. I want to be there. Whether you ask me to or not, I think we should all be there to support the trajectory of where we go in mental health and our children's safety in schools and our children's safety in general. But it should never come to that. But when it happens, we need to feel it. We need to know that this is when we get up and do something. So please, if you can do anything, just please, even just share the information today and start talking more about it. That raises awareness so much. So let's really, really learn something. Not let this go in vain. Something has to give, and I couldn't find a better reason than our kids. That's our future. That we have a vested interest in that. So let's value it appropriately and make sure that we're doing everything we can on an individual level to safeguard our kids and do our best to prevent this from happening again. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but I am saying we can do more. So we know a little bit more now. Let's do more with what we know now. Thank you.